Since this is the anniversary of when this happened a few years ago, I thought I'd finally tell the story so a few people can hear it. Be living in Northern Ontario. Small town. Friends in small town, always trying to spook each other with extravagant trips to abandoned places. Mostly local barns or cabins and whatnot. Never anything too big. One dumb friend suggests we go bigger. They find an abandoned prison far away from where we live. Not far enough to call it a road trip, but it was a long-ass drive. We pack the essentials and get on our way in our 2 cars. Obviously going to change names for privacy's sake. Friends coming are Finn, Samuel, Christopher, Eric, Matt, and the girls are Marlo, Caitlin, and Tay. Prison was called Camp Bison Prison. It was Finn's idea to head out there since he was never one to decide what spooky place to explore next. Finn told us something along the lines of somehow the prison was closed in the 50s because the new highway that was built was too close to Camp Bison. Could result in convicts escaping and hijacking a car. He also tells us of some urban legends about the place. No one believes him since ghost stories are bullshit. I'm in the car with Finn, Eric, Christopher, and Marlo. Samuel, Matt, Caitlin, and Tay are in the other car following us. Everyone knows how to get to the prison at this point. Each group has a map. Finn is driving the car I'm in. Everyone is eating snacks and joking about how scary the prison's going to be. At some point, Matt, the other one who's driving on the other car, decides to be a dumbass and gets separated from our convoy. Me, Finn, and the rest of our group arrive at the car stop long before them. We wait for almost an hour. Reception is bad, so we can't call them to help them. Marlo wants to keep waiting for them. Eric and Christopher want to leave anyway and let the rest of them figure it out themselves. There's a trail that needs to be walked in the bush before you get to the prison. We decide fuck it and begin without them. We want to see the place in daylight before night falls. Pull up to the place when it's still light out. Cool fucking area, big field, and everything is overgrown. Nature's just gorgeous, untouched, very little industrial or animal noise to keep the place super peaceful. In the center of the field is the prison. Marlo suggests checking the outside first, but Eric wants to go straight up to the roof to see Matt and the others when they arrive. I'm fine with whatever and just end up getting dragged around. Christopher is taking pictures because he has a shitty Insta photography account that only teenager girls and actual fucking losers have. We end up walking through the halls of the place and looking for the roof. Graffiti everywhere, random slurs, and penis spray painted on the walls. Having a fun time. Finn, Marlo, Eric, and I arrive at the roof. Starting to get a little dark now. Sun just set completely. Finn and the rest distracted by some bending shit while I look for Matt, Kaylin, and the rest. See movement in the woods, assume it's them. Begin calling out their names and shouting over here, assuming they were lost. Movement stops. Everyone else is just looking at me, wondering why I'm calling out to nothing. I try to play it off as a joke. I think to myself that it was probably just a moose that looked like 3 people walking side by side. We get off the roof and meet up with Christopher, who was still taking pictures of the forest line. He says he wanted to capture the elegantly beauty of the untouched wilderness, or some bullshit I can't remember. We force him to put away the camera and come have some actual fun in the prison. Dusk is setting and there's only a little bit of daylight left to set everything up and explore. We pitch a tent. Luckily we had it, because if we gave it to the others we would have been fucked. There's no sign of them yet, but we think that they'll find their way in the dark anyhow. After setting up camp in one of the bigger rooms in the prison, we use the last of the natural light to check out the building. The little light there is shining through the windows. Find this one big ass room with very little graffiti in it. Decide it's the perfect place to make our mark. The room has trash and branches and shit all around it. Definitely the dirtiest room in the building. Find a tiny animal skeleton and bones in the room. Assume some poor sick creature crawled into the room to die. Christopher takes pictures of it, proving how much of a weirdo he is. There's a huge pile of trash in the middle of the room that smells like shit. Looks like the kind of thing dumb teenagers like us would do. Finn has to go to the bathroom and takes a piss on the pile of trash. Every dude laughs. .jpg. Marlo doesn't think it's that funny. Take out some spray paint and write some funny shit on the walls. Add to the trash pile. Having fun when Eric starts acting a little weird. He's hanging back from the group and looking off in a different direction. Ask him what's going on. He comes back to us. Says some shit about hearing a weird noise off in the distance. Can't describe it. He asks us if we heard anything. We all say no. He's worried it might be cops coming to bust us for trespassing. We tell him to stop being a little pussy, and there's no way cops would come out this far. Try to convince him it was something else he heard. Eventually, we make it to what we assume is the mess hall of the prison, and fuck around there throwing shit. We spend so much time there that it goes fully dark, and we turn on our flashlights and lanterns. Finn produces a couple of beers and says now that the sun's all the way down, it's time to get fucking wasted. Marlo says, bad idea. What if we have to run out for some reason and drive? All of the other guys tell her to fuck off, and we get hammered. Funtimes.png. We start walking back to the tent and camp that we set up with the hopes of telling scary stories until we fall asleep. Christopher can't handle his fucking alcohol and is stumbling around. Lightweight, only had 4 tall boys. He weighs like 130 pounds, so we can't really blame him. We just keep him on the right path till we get back to the tent. On the way back to the tent, Eric is still complaining about the noises in the distance, but we shout at him to grow up and forget about it. Make it to the tent. Christopher is feeling better and Eric has calmed down. Finn is just having the time of his life. We chill in some small camping chairs we brought, gathered around a lantern, telling each other spook stories and making up urban legends about the prison to try and frighten each other. Getting bored until we hear some shouts in the distance. Sounds like someone is calling for us. Holy fuck, they made it. .jpg. Marlo gets up and rushes down the hall to a window in the direction of the voices. Upon closer inspection, sounds like Matt, Samuel, and Caitlin calling our names in the woods. Assume they're lost. Marlo calls out the window to tell them as loud as she can. Voices suddenly stop. Marlo tries pointing the flashlight at the tree line to see if she can see anything, but nothing's there. We stand at the window, calling for them, for a couple more minutes, but for some reason, they don't say anything. Marlo wants to go outside and try to find them. Finn tells them that everyone's a little tipsy, and it's a bad idea to be wandering around in the woods at night in a place that they could easily get lost in. All of us don't want to go outside since it's cold as fuck out there with the wind. It's still pretty cold in the prison itself, but we keep all our gear on to stay warm. We're standing by the window arguing, and then hear one final cry from outside. Sounded closer, like Matt was shouting my name. Don't hear shit after that. Eventually, convince Marlo to just chill and wait for them to come. We stay up next to the tent waiting for them, occasionally listening, but we never hear anything. Decide they must have gone back to the car for some reason, and we all go to bed since it's late. Sleeping with our gear on, since it's so cold, but we're managing. Leave the lantern on the lowest possible setting, like a nightlight, for a feeling of safety. Eventually fall asleep. Having trouble sleeping. Occasionally wake up every now and then. Chalk it up to cold temperatures and uncomfortable sleeping area. Stay up for a bit, trying my best to make myself feel tired. Finn wakes up too and just plays on his phone at low brightness. Get bored and look through Christopher's camera. Pictures of birds, grass, and trees. Looks like he was trying to take a picture of something in the tree line. Can't make out what it is, but looks similar to what I saw earlier. Quite a few pictures of it. Christopher was probably hellbent on getting some cool animal pics. Camera roll ends with a picture of animal bones. Still bored, can't sleep. Chilling with my eyes closed, on the verge of passing out, when suddenly hear a voice in the building. Shoot up and open eyes. Look over to Finn, who gives me a look of confusion. Hear noise again. Sounds like trash and shit being moved. Finn and I lock eyes. We think for a second it might be Matt and the others. Doesn't sound like them though. Sounds more like one thing instead of a bunch of rowdy teenagers. We stay and listen as the sound gets louder and louder. Gets to the hallway our room is in. Sounds of foot padding and sniffing. Finn types something on his phone to tell me something. Phone says, could be coyotes. We heard that packs of coyotes live around here, but it's weird that just one would pull up to the prison. Finn and I stay quiet, listening for a bit, occasionally glancing at each other in worry and reassurance. The noises make their way into our room. The shit stops just outside the door of our tent. Fucking thing begins pacing around our tent in circles. I look at Finn, and he's looking at me with a terrified expression. If it's a coyote, it's clearly pissed at us. And if it's not a coyote, we don't know. We don't fucking know what it is. It sounds super light. On its feet though. Couldn't weigh that much. Suddenly struck with the realization as to why Finn looks so freaked out. Shit's moving on 2 legs, not 4. You can tell by the pattern of the noise it makes on the ground. Immediately, start quietly freaking out. Eric wakes up too, but understands the situation and doesn't say anything. Everyone is looking at each other for what to do, but we all sit there as this thing circles our fucking tent. Suddenly, Marlo wakes up and does possibly the dumbest thing anyone could have done in this situation. She says out loud, "Caitlin? Matt? Is that you?" Silence for 2.5 seconds. Immediately hear the loudest eardrum bursting shriek I have ever heard in my life. It sounds almost like Caitlin's voice screaming. I only know what it sounds like because she screams at every little thing, but it sounds like a combination of that and a dying cat. Couple that with the fact that we just woke up and our ears were being destroyed by the volume, and we burst out of the tent, not even grabbing our equipment and sprinting down the hall to the exit. I turn back and notice Eric isn't with us and is still in the room. The shrieking is still going on, and I call Eric's name. He comes out running faster than I've ever seen him run in my life. The 2 of us catch up with the other 3, and we run through the halls of the prison. Can hear shit breaking, being knocked down, not far behind us. The shrieking is still going on, following us. Finn is holding a flashlight along with Eric as we run out of the prison. Exit at Mach 6. The shrieking stays in the prison and doesn't leave as we run across the field and back to the path to the cars. Running through the woods without even slowing down. Finn is practically dragging Marlo, as she can't run fast at all. Christopher is having a hard time running, but at this point, has slept off the drunkenness. We pile into the car with that little gear we had on us when we started running, and throttle it down the road back onto the highway. Finn is driving like a madman, but is still the least panicky out of the 5 of us. We reach an urban area after a while of driving and just sit for almost an hour as the other cars in traffic pass around us. Marlo and Christopher are crying. Eric just seems perfectly still, glancing off into space. Glassy look in his eye. I turn to him and ask him what he saw in the room before he left to join us running. He turns directly towards me and has the biggest expression of horror I've ever seen. He isn't moving at all, almost looks traumatized, like he just watched his entire family get tortured to death. Finn calls Matt and the rest of them. They tell us they're at a motel. We drive to them and all pile into the room. They ask us what the fuck happened. Explain the situation to them to the best of our ability. They tell us they were late coming to the car stop spot and tried to make their way through the trail, hoping to meet us at the prison. They got lost on the path there and started calling our names at the top of their lungs. Said they gave up looking for the right path and left before the sun went down because they didn't want to get lost in the woods in the dark. We told them we heard their shouts, but it was like at 1 in the morning. They tell us that's impossible since they left long before night fell. Everyone is really fucking confused and exhausted, and we just pass out in the motel room. The next day, we drive back to our town, and we never talk about the situation again. Hang out with the gang less and less since we don't really go on spooky adventures anymore after that. Eventually fall out with them because I permanently associate them with that night. Years later, looking at people who went to Camp Bison prison, and they experienced eerily similar scenarios. Not quite as horrifying as what happened to me, but still freaked me out when I saw them nonetheless. TLDR, tried to spend the night in an abandoned prison and got chased out. After all this time, I really hope that it could have all been explained with natural phenomena, but I don't know enough about nature to explain any of it. I hope you guys can. About a year after this event, I tried to talk to Eric again about what he saw when he was still in the room without us. He pretended like it didn't happen and refused to say anything else. About it. I could try and get in touch with him and ask him his side of the story again, if you Anons want that.